Good morning. Today we are going to focus on a short and easy practice that you can do daily throughout your pregnancy. We're not going to do anything too complicated. This is something that should only take you about 15 or so minutes a day and is safe even if you have pubic symphysis dysfunction or any kind of pelvic pain. We're going to stay pretty grounded and equal on both sides. We're going to do a lot of seated postures, a little bit of breathing, and just talk about things that you probably should just kind of get familiar and conscious of throughout your pregnancy. So, the first thing I want to talk about is posture. So if you participate in some of the full length yoga classes that I teach, you'll notice that I use a blanket quite a bit. And I actually kind of got used to using a blanket. It feels a lot more comfortable for my hips. It raises you a little bit. It is softer for your pelvic floor. And it gives you a little bit of a tilt. Now, you really, really want that tilt. So that's how we're going to start. I'm going to show you from the side. So I have a yoga blanket, but you can use any towel and fold it nicely like this. I'll show you from the side. So most of us will sit. Whenever we do sit, we end up sitting, let me take the blanket away, like this. Okay, so if you notice, my shoulders are rounding forward, my spine is rounded, right? It's harder to breathe because there's compression here on the belly. And this is just generally not healthy for you at all. The head is heavy. Through the years, it's going to become worse and worse and pretty painful. But specifically for pregnancy, you're losing space here. You want to be able to breathe. So first and foremost, you want to sit tall. You want to sit straight. But if you use something nice and cushiony for your tailbone, for your pelvic floor, for your hips, it will also give you the benefit of tilting you slightly forward. So your pelvis is going to be slightly tilting forward, which will give your baby this hammock that you probably heard people talking about. This hammock is going to give your baby a better chance of positioning themselves for labor, positioning themselves well for labor. So instead, I don't know if you've ever heard of a posterior baby. A posterior baby will have their face to your front. You want to have an anterior baby, ideally, with their face facing your back, which all of these forward tilting postures will give you. Okay, so this is how we want to start. We want to start with awareness of our posture, daily awareness of your posture. Okay, so we're sitting on a little blanket or a towel. Notice that you're not really using all of it, you're kind of using the edge of it. And notice how you can tilt your pelvis. So why don't you start like this, sitting in a comfortable position, and then notice how you can tilt your pelvis forward, the top of your pelvis forward. And then when you round, you're tilting the top of your pelvis back. Tilting forward and tilting back. Why don't we combine some breath with this? Inhale as you tilt forward. Exhale fully as you round back. Keep going. Full breath. Now in yoga, what we do, keep going, is we inhale and exhale through the nose to kind of control the breath, create some breath awareness, and slow things down. So you want to try to inhale slowly through the nose and then exhale as you round back out through the nose. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Now go ahead and come back to a seated position and switch your feet. So if I had my right foot in the front, now my left foot is going to be in the front and vice versa. And keep going. Inhale as you tilt yourself forward. You can even add a little heart opener, so rolling the shoulders back. And exhale, round. Inhale forward. Exhale, round. Forward. Round. And let's do a few more times. You'll notice that every time you tilt forward, you also get a little bit of a stretch to your hip. And you're helping to undulate the spine. One more. Beautiful. So pretty simple. I'm going to keep the towel or the blanket underneath. I'm just going to be facing you. Another thing you want to do daily is just stretch that side body of yours, right? Because as the baby is taking space, it's taking over, it's harder to breathe. You want to create space for yourself for breath and stretch the intercostal muscles here in between your ribs, and also feel like you're giving baby some space. Okay, so that's very simple. Inhale as you reach your arm up, and exhale as you tilt to one side. So you can stay here for a few breaths, or you can play with it and float from side to side with your breath. Right, so inhale as I rise. Remember to inhale and exhale through the nose. Inhale as you rise, exhale as you stretch. Simple. Inhale, exhale. Good. And then inhale, exhale. Beautiful. Let's do just a couple more. And if this feels good, you can spend another minute or two on it and then come back to center. Another thing that gets really tight during pregnancy and especially postpartum, but I think most of us get very tight upper back, shoulders, neck, which for that, you can always create some simple circles. You can do this in bed, you can do this on a chair, or during your yoga practice. And then reverse. Come back to center and roll the shoulders. And reverse. Wonderful. Relax here. Stretch your legs out. Give them a good shake. Areas that get very tight, swollen, achy during pregnancy are feet, ankles, wrists, and hands. So you want to release that every day. And there's no complicated movement here. It's just stretching, flexing, pointing, circles, or just dance with your hands and your feet. And do it for a couple of minutes a day. Just movement. That's it. A great way also to move the feet, the ankles, and help with blood flow to the legs is just walking every day. If you can't do 30 minutes, if it's raining like today, you can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you can just kind of spread it out through the day. All right, keep going, just a little bit more. So circles, half circles, dance with your hands and with your feet. You can open and close the fists. You can windshield wiper your feet. You can shake it. Beautiful. And then relax. Let's go to hands and knees position. So you're going to swing your legs behind you. This is where I use the blanket. And what you want to do is you want to get your knees onto the blanket, kind of protect your kneecaps, stack the knees under the hips. And by the way, your hips are right here. These are your hip bones. You can feel them probably. So your knees should be directly under your hips, not here. This is not how big your hips are. Trust me. So aligning the knees under the hips, aligning your hands under your shoulders. Now, if your wrists are hurting, you can also make fists. Okay, and if it's really unbearable, you can always use a birth ball, which I really believe everybody should have, not just for the actual labor, but throughout pregnancy, you can spend some time sitting on it and resting your chest on. So you can use the birth ball. It's harder to do cat-cow with a birth ball, but you can definitely create some circles and freestyle movements. And that also I recommend doing daily. So you can try this out. Remember to inhale slowly through the nose, exhale slowly through the nose, and then come to center. Inhale as you gently relax the abdomen. Try not to really drop it because you're going to end up hurting your lower back. So have a little bit of a drop, just a relaxation. Notice also this will help you kind of get familiar with your pelvis and tilting the pelvis. So you relax the abdomen, look out as you inhale. Exhale, this is the cat stretch. So you're really rounding fully, pressing the ground away with your palms or with your fists. Inhale, relax. It's more of a neutral spine. And exhale, round your spine. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And like before, you can spend a little bit more time here, maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, just freestyle moving and shifting. And you don't really need to, it's not necessarily yoga. It's just a really healthy way of hammocking the belly here and helping baby get in a good position. This is a great position for birth. This gives a lot of relief for lower back and also frees your back for your partner or your helpers to massage you. Now, calf stretch also, you should be practicing daily, ideally. And you can also give your wrist a little bit of a rest, so come to your forearms. And it's as simple as just stretching your leg behind you, placing the toes on the ground and pressing the heel away. You're going to feel a beautiful deep stretch in the back of the leg. Take a few breaths. Good, and enjoy it. This feels really nice. And then switch. Beautiful. And then relax your knees back under your hips. Now, you can actually open the knees wider, bring the big toes together. And there's 2 movements here that are very relaxing, but also very beneficial. One of them is child's pose. In child's pose, you send your hips all the way back to your heels and try to just relax your hips back. And then your forehead will come to the mat. Now, of course, this will be very challenging if you have heartburn or GERD or just things that tend to come up, and that's very common during pregnancy. In that case, you might want to put a fist over fist and then rest your forehead on it. Or if you have a yoga block or some kind of heavy-duty pillow, you can rest your forehead on that too and just relax your hips and practice a minute of breathing, a minute or 2 or 3, whatever feels right. The other way to relax the hips, but also give your pelvic floor a little bit of a break from the constant pull down, is to keep your hips high and bring your chest low. But this will be extra challenging if you have any kind of heartburn, indigestion, too much pressure. But this is a really beneficial pose. So, taking a few deep breaths, just like that. If you need extra pillow or something under your chest, that's also possible. Great way to rest. So you can do that for a few breaths. The difference is the hips are high here in a puppy pose or knee chest pose, and the hips are low in child's pose. Okay, next pose is just a simple downward facing dog. So what you're going to do here, you're just going to separate your feet about mat distance apart. So they're wider. You give space for the belly. Take a deep breath in. Engage your core as you lift up. You must engage your core. You really need to kind of hug in, almost like going to a cat stretch. You're going to just squeeze, give that baby a hug, press your knees up, and you're inverted. So this is an inverted triangle pose. Now, some of you might have your heels high, some of you might have your knees bent. That's awesome. But what you need to do is you're not in a plank position. So your shoulders are definitely not over your wrist. You're going to press your hips all the way back, as far back as you can without moving your hands. And you're going to take most of the weight away from the hands, from your palms, and toward your heels or your feet, even if they don't reach the ground, and even if your knees are bent. Notice what you're doing is that you're pressing the tailbone further away from you, kind of trying to create length in your spine. And you're also opening the sits bones wide and away from each other, like as if you're trying to make space for a baby to come out, right? So you take a deep breath. And when you get really tired, you exhale as you kind of squeeze, give your baby a good hug, and bring your knees down. And then, of course, you can take another moment here in child's pose or puppy pose, or sit on your heels and give your hands a break, right? Beautiful. So from here, I'm going to show you the final relaxation pose. So you're going to use a pillow for your head, and you're going to use some pillows for your legs. Ideally, you have a few pillows. You're going to find yourself laying on your left side, just like that. Your bottom leg, so your left leg, it can be straight, and your right knee is going to be bent, and you're going to place it over the pillows. Now remember that hammock we were talking about? What you want to do is you want to make sure that even here, you kind of lean forward just a little bit so you create this hammock for your baby. If you have extra pillows, extra blankets, you can create a beautiful nest that's super comfy. But if you can see my hips, here are my hips right here. They're not stacked. I am slightly leaning forward. So my belly button wants to kiss the mattress, the ground, the mat, whatever is underneath you. And then you close your eyes and you relax. If you want to go to sleep, you can. Or you just take a few moments here to do nothing. And that is also extremely important, that you find few moments, few minutes during the day, even if you have other kids. I know it's challenging. 2 minutes, 3 minutes is plenty of time for a mindful relaxation, right? You make a decision to take this time for yourself and to do nothing. No chores, no plans, nothing. Just relax. You can always bring your hand to the baby, knowing that you're doing something really good for yourself and your baby, and just rest. Okay. So I'm going to leave you here to rest. Don't get up. I will. Just keep your eyes closed. Maybe put some meditation music. This is a huge part of yoga, is the breath and the relaxation. You really want to make sure you give that to yourself. It's not always about the movement. Okay? Beautiful. I wish you a really, really happy, bright day, you and your baby. Namaste.